Hey guys, and welcome to the Cartoon Overload Show. I'm Carl Jacobs, and this is a cartoon retrospect where each week we have a guest come on with a cartoon of their childhood to discuss. I'm here with the Brian to my Peter Griffin, except not dead, Johnny Hayes.
Yeah, I don't have anything to follow that up with.
All right.
Libertarian joke, whatever, yeah.
Insert libertarian joke. Joining us this week, we have a very special guest. Listen, you already know him. You already love him. We got Schnitzel from Chowder. Schnitzel, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Rada 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 rada.
Oh, okay. All right, well, awesome. Well, Schnitzel actually brought with him a little movie. I don't know if was it like directed TV? What are we talking about?
It was directed TV.
Okay.
So today we're talking about UnderFist Halloween Bash, which is a directed TV Billy and Mandy spin-off movie that I don't know if it was technically intended to start an entire series, but there were supposed to be several movies based off of this. So basically it is also, this is October 12th, 2008 that it premiered. Forgot to mention that. But it is a superhero team based off of a bunch of the side characters from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. So led by my personal messiah, Irwin. Okay, I'm glad that you're with me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would have been really disappointed if you didn't join me in that statement.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So it's Irwin, Fred Fredberger. I just had the list here. I know I should know all of this off by heart, but sometimes I have the memory of a goldfish. Point is, it's a fun team of a bunch of the side characters: Hasta el Gato, the spider, the evil guy. We'll get to the names eventually. It's real fun. It's well, Schnitzel, why don't you tell us a little bit about it, because you were the one that decided to bring this upon us.
Yeah, so Schnitzel, like what about this specific, like why not just Billy and Mandy? What made you decide to do UnderFist Halloween Bash?
Rada 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 rada.
Yeah.
Rada rada.
Yeah, I fully agree. It really does pull to the forefront some of those really great side characters, and even if it does kind of lean on their bits a lot, it still gets so much fun out of them, and you get a lot of personality within there. Where do we want to start, guys? Because I think with our episodes on movies, it's usually best that we just kind of start at the beginning and go.
Yeah, so we ran through all the little like fun facts about it. Oh,
there's fun facts for later, don't you worry.
Oh, okay.
There's lots of fun facts that we'll get to.
Awesome. How about we just jump right into like the character dynamics? Like, did you guys feel it was weird? Like, do you feel like you could see a world where it was basically, in theory, just a Billy and Mandy episode, except a little bit longer, a Halloween special, and didn't actually focus too hard on Billy or Mandy? Did that feel weird to you, or was that like...
Well, oh, sorry, Schnitzel, you can go.
Rada rada. Rada 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 rada.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping that the conversation was going to steer towards. You could go ahead, though, Johnny.
Thank you, sorry. I agree. I think that it takes advantage of all of the things that make these characters so great, and you don't feel like it needs Billy and Mandy to be there. Like, it has them a bit in the introduction, and it's got like really good bits in that start. Like, I love the fact that Mandy is the Spanish Inquisition, and Grimm is also part of the Spanish Inquisition, and their whole point is just that they are those characters so that they can like threaten Irwin and Billy. And they get like one or two bits off with them at the start, and then they immediately just go into, we're following Irwin, this is his story, which of course is the story a generation needs to hear. Yeah,
without a doubt. It's almost like it's not an origin story, but it's like the Spider-Man 2 as Billy and Mandy is like Spider-Man 1 for Irwin's legacy. It's a good way to describe it. I think where it shines, I think where Billy and Mandy's as a series shines a lot is the use of like all of their different characters, and I think, I mean, like we kind of saw a little glimpse at every single side character, at least that was recurring throughout the series, and I think they all had like a fun little section in this show.
Yeah, all of the bits work so well with all of the characters that it doesn't make you tired of them. Like Fred Fredberger is a character that they don't usually like lean on him too hard. Like there's a couple episodes of Billy and Mandy where it is like a pretty Fred-centric episode, but like you get a lot of Fred Fredberger in this episode, and there's no point when I'm annoyed by him, no matter how hard they lean into, yeah, he's just kind of weird and aimless with whatever he's doing. That never gets to a point where I'm tired of hearing, like, they have that whole bit where when they're fighting the candy monsters at the start, like, Hasta el Gato and Irwin are getting, like, destroyed by all these candy monsters, and then, you just see the, I'm gonna get the name of the spider one of these days, but you see the spider and Fred just sitting there, like, debating on whether they're going to do something. And then it's Fred's just like, I can spell my name real good. And then it just cuts between him saying a letter and then one of the other, like, section of the main cast being horribly beaten by all these candy monsters.
It's great. Wait, what'd you ask? Wait, hold up. What did you ask, Schnitzel?
Rada.
No, yeah. I see the confusion. Fred Fredberger is a completely separate entity. I don't think that they're under the same reign as the hit YouTuber Fred. I'm sorry. Just to clear that up, that's actually a completely different thing. But you go ahead. I'm sorry, Johnny. You go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for making sure that everyone knew that, because I'm sure there was thousands of fans listening that would have been so confused.
Fred the YouTuber is listening right now, and he's like,
yeah,
what are you talking about? I didn't do any of
Yeah, we're
this.
not talking about you, Fred. I'm sorry to confuse you like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's a lot of really good bits, and I think that might be my favorite part. Jeff the Spider is his name, by the way. I got there. Is that
voice acted by Maxwell Adams.
Yeah, by Maxwell Adams, and then C.H. Greenblatt is Fred Fredberger. So we have, any time when it's the two of them just bidding off of each other, it's just the creator of Chowder and the creator of Billy and Mandy just having fun in the booth, and that shows well through it.
And there was even a specific point in time, I guess I won't spoil it, so watch this, but there is a specific point in time where Maxwell Adams blatantly just makes fun of cartoon creation and like himself, and it's
honestly, we can say it because at this point, who hasn't seen
well, it's
this
only been 11
artwork?
years. What if
exactly. Like you've had enough time to watch it, and also we did announce, or we will have announced. Sorry, we're recording this way in advance. We will have announced by the Monday before this that this is the like show we're talking about, so people will know that like this is. They'll have that full week that we kind of give them to really watch it and absorb it and think about it that much.
Do you feel that you are like capable of giving the spoiler, or do you want Schnitzel to take over for this part and explain?
Oh, I think we gotta let Schnitzel do it.
All right, yeah.
I can see it. We're in the video call. I can see he's like all giddy with excitement.
I see him jumping up and down. Listen, so I'll set this up. Schnitzel, you go ahead and take it away. Maxwell Adams being Fred the Spider. No, not what is it? Who the Spider?
Jeff the Spider.
Jeff the Spider. Just take it away. Take it away.
Rada.
Oh man,
dude, it gets me. I'm sorry.
Literally, honestly, every time, like, it blows my mind how. First of all, how talented you are, Schnitzel, and I think that's why we wanted you as a guest, to be able to retell a story just that well. But also, like, it blows my mind how funny Maxwell Adams.
Yeah, dude, you're nailing it. The writing for this movie is impeccable, and they take every opportunity they can to fit little jokes in and like pile them on top, and it works every time. Like I think there is sure a couple times where I'm sure gags I only like kind of gave a smirk at instead of laugh, but yeah, going into this I laughed way more than I kind of thought I would.
And I think that there's so much to unpack that if I were to watch this a second time around, I think that there would be tons of jokes that I completely missed on my first viewing.
Oh, I completely
and
agree.
I'm super excited. I know this is a Halloween special, so like I'm super excited. This is probably going to be in my lineup for this coming October of watching it again, and I'm like super excited to see how much I missed You know, and the thing about these jokes, dude, is that they're so like 2000s Cartoon Network humor, and it hits so perfectly for me.
Yeah.
If you don't remember how funny Billy and Mandy as a show is, this is literally the epitome of it. You know what I mean? Like, it really is exactly, like, it encapsulates all of the nostalgia that I personally have for Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, me too. And I think we haven't really talked about enough the fact that this is a Halloween special. And I think that obviously anything that's a Halloween special, I'm such a sucker for. Like, it's so easy to just have, if they're like, hey, the episode or the movie or whatever takes place at Halloween, I'm so immediately sold.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, they don't even need to try that hard. But they still do pull off so much well in this. And from all the little, like, jokes relating to trick-or-treating and candy and jack-o'-lanterns and whatnot that they do slip in there that I appreciate, it's still, they don't make that the gimmick where it's just like, oh, it's Halloween, that's the whole joke. They're always like pulling from other corners and pulling from wherever they can to still have that, like, they catch you off guard whenever they can to really get out of it as much as possible.
And I would like to clarify, right? Because I feel like it would be weird for us to do like a Christmas special. It's literally like, what is it? It's like April. I'm not going to say what day. This is a while ago.
Yeah.
It's April when we're recording. And it's like just not even remotely close to Halloween. But it does, like, when Schnitzel came to us about wanting to do UnderFist, I wasn't really sure. But it was only 60 minutes, so I gave it a shot. I watched it. I was like, we're doing this. Because, like, I think it does enough to not just feel like a Halloween version of, just a Halloween episode of
like a normal Billy and Mandy episode.
Of Billy and Mandy, exactly.
Rada, 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 rada.
Yeah, I completely agree. It does so well, making it an episode that you can watch anytime, but you get more out of it watching it Halloween. Because it does kind of still have that, like, fun superhero drama, like apocalypse, they're going to the underworld, and all these, like, crazy things happening in it without compromising any of that to lean too hard into, oh, it's a Halloween episode, so we gotta, like, cut away to get back to them doing Halloween things. Like, once they've dedicated it to, we're gonna tell the story of Irwin becoming a monster, and we're gonna tell the story of UnderFist becoming the organization that we have grown to love, it like clings to that story, and it makes itself what it has to be.
Yeah.
Which I think it does really well. There are, like, full arcs in this that you get to follow, and you get to see, like, Hasta el Gato totally go from being the lone wolf, super manly fighter man to being part of the team and working with everyone. And you get to see Jeff the Spider accept that he doesn't have to be an adult anymore. And
it's also it's kind of upsetting to me. I think it's, like, pretty upsetting to me how well it does arcs, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's really funny to me how, like, dynamic they can make the characters and how good, like, it's literally 60 minutes total.
Yeah, about.
You know what I mean? So I think that inherently gives them not an optimal amount of time to work with.
Yeah, I would not think they'd be able to fit this much in, because they really are able to hit a lot of beats. Like, you get right off the start, you get all the, like, fun, goofy trick-or-treating stuff. You get a couple bits of points to, like, introduce you, like, ease you in with, like, oh, here's Billy and Mandy and Grimm back again. And you get to see Irwin that you, like, already know, so you get Irwin interacting with them. And then Irwin on his own a bit, and then you get Irwin with Hasta el Gato, and you get Irwin with, like, the little interaction with him and General Scar when he's, like, on his lawn or whatever. And you just kind of get to see Irwin, like, introduced to the cast that you're gonna grow with for the rest of the movie. And then from there, all of the stuff that happens in the underworld, and then the great turn of when they finally reveal that Mandy's the president, and then all of the stuff with them fighting for the city after Mandy's the president. And, like, they pull there's like 3 big sections in here, which kind of makes sense because it's enough time to be like about 3 full Billy and Mandy episodes, but it doesn't feel like 3 episodes. Like, it all flows well enough and it's paced well enough that you're not bored, but you're also at no point feel like, oh, they're obviously rushing this because they were squished into 50 minutes, like, or 60 minutes, sorry. They get through everything they wanted to get through.
Rada, 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 rada. Rada, rada.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I didn't even remember to bring that up, but it is a musical, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of...
Yeah, you're right.
That's a good point, Schnitzel.
There's a couple songs, and they're really good. Like, they were significantly better than I thought they would be.
Rada, rada. Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada. Rada, rada.
Oh.
Rada.
I mean, all right. Let's just move past that, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, UnderFist. I feel like it's such a... It really completely encapsulates like Maxwell Adams' humor. It's like, it feels like Maxwell Adams in a nutshell. If you want to watch one, like if I had to show you like one thing to describe like what I remember Billy and Mandy shows,
totally.
the Billy and Mandy the show to be, growing up, it would be this, I think.
That's actually going to roll us kind of into one of the fun facts. According to the wiki, this is just the whole like production section is one little really interesting fact that makes a lot of sense seeing this afterwards, like after watching the movie. It just says Maxwell Adams started production on UnderFist a little bit after he finished with Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Special was finished several months before it aired, but because it was a Halloween special, it was delayed until October. Cartoon Network did not pay for a permanent crew for a single film, so much of the work was done freelance by Adams himself.
That's wild.
Yeah, so a lot of the movie very much is, you can see his fingerprints all over when it comes to the comedy, the stylings of a lot of the ways that they introduce things or resolve things, and all of it feels exactly like what he wanted to do. Like, it's a very pure, this is the artist's vision.
That's
and
so cool.
It doesn't feel at any point like someone stepped in and forced him to do something he didn't want to do, you know?
Yeah, that's actually really cool. That's something I definitely didn't know.
Mm-hmm. And Schnitzel, I'm sure you can speak to that a little bit too, because you are someone who has, worked on a much bigger production than anything Karl and I have been a part of. So I'm sure you know a little bit about like studio meddling and stuff and how they can kind of get in there and change what you want the character to be.
Yeah, I guess our question would be for you then, like when you were on the set for Chowder, like how much did you have a say in your script, so to speak?
Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada.
Oh, okay.
Should we? Maybe we'll cut that part.
Rada, rada. Rada.
It's no offense, man. It's just like I don't know how much that really has to do with the show.
Yeah, I feel like we'll bringing up past relations is like weird.
Rada, rada.
Just I'll just like 3 count us back in, clap on clap, we'll resync it, we'll go from there. Alrighty. 1, 2, 3, clap.
Alright, welcome back, guys. Yeah, there was a technical difficulty, I think, with, Yeah, sorry. My Audacity's been weird. It's done that a couple times. Drivers or something. I don't know, PCs. But we could go back into it. What were we were talking about, like, what, Maxwell Adams,
how this is very much his creation.
Okay.
And it really does kind of show how much fun he's having with it throughout. Also, you get a lot of little good bits of references to other Cartoon Network cartoons in this, where it does very much feel like this is someone who really loves Cartoon Network and loves cartoons, down to during the Halloween float there was Chowder and Courage the Cowardly Dog.
That was actually super
Halloween float.
Like, what was that what was that like for you, Schnitzel? Like, did that have anything to do with why you decided to pick this, like, as the movie that you wanted to talk about? Like, what was that like seeing your co-star, I guess, being in that float?
Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada. Rada.
Yeah, I get that. I can get how there'd be a little bit of jealousy, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty cool.
No, it's definitely, yeah.
But yeah, on top of that, there's also like when Mandy sends everyone down to see Grim and Billy, where they're like the tech guys to outfit them for like the big superhero operation. Billy's clothes are Dexter's from Dexter's lab, which was a really like little nod that I thought was super fun, because it's not like a super complete, like, being real, that just means he was wearing like a lab coat and purple
like
gloves.
Yeah, and like pointy shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Which technically doesn't really mean that it's like a Dexter's Lab reference, but I would assume that just based on how influential Dexter's Lab has been to Cartoon Network and that whole like cartoons era, I think that had to be like a little nod for fans of that whole era, which, like you said earlier, Carl, this really is such a timestamp of those early to mid 2000s Cartoon Network shows. Like, it really does feel like
100%.
End of an era thing, but this feels like it's one of the last like big,
and it felt like
before Adventure Time and regular show kind of come in and like harken in that new era, you know?
it felt like a good, not necessarily the end of an era, but it definitely felt like a good like time stamp of a specific era of Cartoon Network, because we look at that, and that felt normal to us, like having that sort of comedy style. And we can get back into this later, but we noticed like the sound effects that we could talk about later, but like I feel like it was such, especially like in an era where we're even like ending this era, I guess, but like the whole Adventure Time and regular show had its own feel. I feel like this did a good job at like stamping what this era of Cartoon Network really felt like, personally.
Totally. And I think that it could have led into more things similar to this, which, sorry, excuse me, I found on the Grim Adventures fandom wiki, they had a whole thing on, there were supposed to be more sequels after UnderFist Halloween Bash. Like, they were supposed to make more specialty UnderFist movies, and I have a list of them, and some of the names are just fantastic, and I wish that all of these existed as like 1 hour specials, because I totally would have loved to have been able to sit down and just binge like 9 straight hours of Irwin and his pals. That's like my personal heaven, is just getting to sit down and watch that for like a full day. But it was UnderFist versus the dinosaurs, UnderFist against the Astro Vampires, UnderFist Easter Beatdown, UnderFist Return of the Spider Queen, UnderFist CSI Miami, UnderFist Teaches Traffic Safety, and UnderFist Babies. However, none of them even got to the point of being produced. So, I know my personal favorite there has got to be UnderFist CSI Miami. I would have lost my mind.
I can't even like picture what that would even, like, I can't conceive an idea of what that might even be. Like,
God, I wish. That would have just been so perfect to see them try and take on like an hour, because an hour-long episode of Billy and Mandy is much more going on than like an hour-long episode of CSI Miami.
Yeah, and I
would love if they fully just were like, all right, we're just going to do an episode of CSI Miami, but what if it's Irwin and Fred Fredberger and Hasta el Gato trying to solve this crime instead of the CSI Miami cast? I think that's such a good bit.
That would be so funny.
Like, Maxwell Adams is a good enough writer and a good enough comedian that he could totally make it smart enough that they would roll with it, and I feel like they would play into it hard enough where it wouldn't just be like, oh, CSI Miami reference, that they would actually go deep enough to make it like, oh, we're going to tell the story the same way they tell the story, and it could have been something so cool and fun that I really wish they would have let him off the chain and just given him as much money to make as much UnderFist as he could, because that would have been such a cool alternate universe that we could live in.
Yeah.
Rada, 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 rada. Rada, rada, rada. Rada, rada. Rada, 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 rada.
I guess that's definitely a take.
Yeah. Technically.
Okay.
Moving on though, there was
there
was a couple of really good segments throughout this, and I thought that one of them was the whole point of where they just randomly kind of introduce that they're holding the president hostage, and they like make reference to it a couple times, and you was kind of assume that it's just like, oh, I guess that's just kind of the stakes that they set up, because I think it's Hasta el Gato that explains to them at some point that after the candy took over, that they just laid siege to the world, but then a new president came in and saved the world, but then the candy captured the new president. And you're like, oh, that's a funny way of them saying, like, oh, the president's captured, instead of just saying, oh, the president's captured. Like, that's a quirky Billy and Mandy way to get around. We're going to have an extra long explanation for this that involves, oh, the day was saved, but now the day's, like, you know, it's back in peril. Like,
and I don't want to harp on it too much.
Happened.
I don't want to harp on it too much, but it really does feel like it's just like, it's a little more over-the-top episode of Billy and Mandy that's a little bit longer, and every single thing just kind of feels like, it feels like a very Billy and Mandy way of going about any other Halloween special, you know what I mean? It just feels like 100%. Such an over-the-top, and we haven't talked about it yet, but I do want to harp on like a specific scene. Mm-hmm. It's pretty early on in the movie. It's Irwin's encounter with Dracula.
Oh my
as
God.
Irwin, as he is specifically dressed as Dracula for Halloween. It's some of the funniest dialogue that I've seen in my entire life, where it really is just like rubbing Irwin in the face, like rubbing Irwin's face in like the ground just to like make him understand that he is just a nerd. You know what I mean? And it's so funny to me.
Yeah, they even like they right off the bat introduce like when Grimm's giving the overall explanation, because Irwin it's half mummy and, or is it, one of them's a quarter, like if you technically, where it's like, yeah, so I think it's half mummy because his mother is a mummy, but like quarter vampire because his grandpa is Dracula. So it's some weird, but point is, in the intro, Grimm introduces Irwin as half mummy, half vampire, half nerd. And then immediately in that first scene when they all go trick-or-treating and Irwin's dressed up as Dracula, and Dracula comes to the door and he's like, who are all of you? And then they explain their costumes, and that's when you get the great bit of Billy saying he's a witch, and then Mandy saying she's the Spanish Inquisition because they burn witches. And then Irwin introducing himself as Dracula, and Dracula just tears down his entire thing, where he's like, Dracula would never dress like that. Dracula's way cooler than you. Dracula hasn't had his collar popped like that since the 70s.
Yeah.
And I think Dracula in Billy and Mandy is such an underrated version of Dracula. Like, I never see people talk about him much, but every time he's in an episode, or like we watch this together. Yeah. Like, you know, like end of May or whatever. And we immediately
end of March, when
yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry. Yeah, Jesus. My bad. But yeah, when we watched it together, like the second Dracula came on screen, I think I like audibly like just like, oh yeah, let's go. Like, come on.
We were both kind of hyped. I think when it's so hard for him to just not take over the show when he comes on, like whenever it's an episode that includes him, it's like it's his episode, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there's like nothing that you can do to stop that, and it's so good to me.
Yeah, what's your take on Billy and Mandy's depiction of Dracula, Schnitzel?
Rada rada rada, rada 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 rada, rada 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 rada.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
All right. Yeah, we need to like actually for a second. I think we need to. Mm-hmm. We're not. That's like not what this show is. Okay.
Yeah.
We probably, like, we should. Wait, I see like this was starting. Let's cut that off. Definitely. No more of that. Like, we can start the show back up, I think, but like I'm probably gonna cut this part out. But this.
Just try to be better, dude.
That's like kind of just. Like, it's 2019, you know? Mm-hmm. I realize that this movie was 2008. We don't have to live in 2008. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You could, if you want to clap us back in, Johnny.
Yeah. Okay. Clap on clap. 1, 2, 3. Clap.
All right, awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, guys. Sorry. Audacity seems to be pretty funky today. We're trying to
our first Halloween special episode. It's like we're getting haunted from our programs, right?
Yeah. Ooh, you know what I mean? But yeah, coming back at it. I think I would like to talk about the costumes that were used for not just. I know we were just talking about the costumes for like Grim, Mandy, Billy, but let's talk about like the actual UnderFist crew.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do that, did we even like discuss who exactly the UnderFist crew is? Because it's such a star-studded lineup for me.
Briefly mentioned it, but I'll go over the full-on.
Yeah, just like to get it lined up for people.
So it is. There isn't really roles as much. I don't remember the exact Fred Fredberger. Obviously, you should go watch the movie if you haven't, and if you have, you might remember this a little clearer than I do. But Fred Fredberger has his own like names for each of them. Like I think he calls Hasta el Gato Grumpy Man, and General Scar is like Grumpy Man's angry friend or something like that. Like,
yeah, like one-eyed angry friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's Hasta el Gato, who is the big action star guy with the chainsaw for a leg and the fist that'll constantly like turn into other gadgets where it'll suddenly become a gun or a hammer or whatever. And then it's General Scar, who is the like evil mastermind guy, the like evil scientist. He's called General Scar because he's got the huge scar on his face. Fred Fredberger, who is the super weird green alien. Jeff the Spider, who is the spider that they just kind of have as the voice of reason. And it's very funny when every once in a while Jeff the Spider will just like look into the camera and directly say something, and knowing that that's Maxwell Adams just being like stopping the show for a second to be like,
yeah.
Hey guys, and then explaining whatever's going on is always such a good bit. And then it's Irwin, and that's this mini Avengers Justice League of their world.
I want to say, I think Jeff the Spider specifically might be my favorite character in the entire like definitely in the special. I think he shines so hard in it.
He is so funny.
He has his own like story arc of coming to terms with being an adult doesn't necessarily mean you have to act like a cookie cutter adult. Yeah. And I think it's so priceless the way he thinks. Like, for instance, I'll just give away one of the gags. Like, he was like, oh, I have to be an adult now, so I'll start wearing adult diapers. But it's like, it's such like a skewed view.
And it's not like he randomly brings it up. Like, he's sitting in like the cockpit of their like headquarters. And then Fred Fredberger and I think Irwin walk in on him. And they're just like, what are you wearing, Jeff? And he's like, well, I'm an adult now, so I should be wearing adult diapers. And I've got adult hair. And like, there's a point when they're like in the cockpit again, like driving somewhere. And Jeff's got the paper. And they're talking about like, I think someone mentions, I think it's Fred mentions, because Fred's whole thing is he really wants to be a kid still, and he wants to go trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
So Fred's like, oh, I want to go trick-or-treating. And Jeff's like, oh, that's kiddie stuff. I'm not a kid anymore. I don't even read the comics. I'm just reading the stock market pages or whatever. And then he just does a whole thing where he's like, NASDAQ's up. And everyone, like, he just has, like, 3 sentences of dialogue that's followed up by silence. And then someone's like, what does that mean? And Jeff's like, I have no idea.
I also want to give like a shout out to the beautiful, just like priceless chemistry that is Jeff the Spider and Fred Fredberger.
Yeah, it's so pure. Like, there's never a point, despite Jeff's whole thing throughout this, like, for the most part, being, I want to be an adult. He's never, like, talking down to Fred too much. Like, you don't get the idea that he's, like, being mean to him. It's just a wholesome friendship where they're very supportive of each other and just kind of want to see each other happy. And it's such a good, like...
I've never realized that I really wanted a spin-off series of them. You know what I mean? But could you, like, picture that? I could picture that so vividly.
Oh, my gosh. That could be so funny.
Oh, my gosh. What? I don't know. Let's go... Like, what... Schnitzel. What do you think would be, like, a perfect, Fred Fredberger, Jeff the Spider, like, spin-off series? Like, or it could be, like, a movie. Whatever you think. But, like, what would you think would be, like... What... Like, an optimal piece of content that they make?
Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada.
Schnitzel, you just described your show, Chowder, but starring Fred Fredberger and Jeff the Spider.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Did he really just? Okay, did you like? He straight up. That was literally Chowder, like 100% Chowder. But yeah, Jeff the Spider and Fred Fredberger.
That was a good bit. I support that.
Yeah, no, I'm behind that without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch that show. But yeah, I think that Fred shined so much throughout this also. Like, anytime the two of them are on screen, it gets really... There's always, like, good bits that I'll laugh at. But I think, specifically, you kind of mentioned, like, the costumes earlier, and we started getting into that before we totally got off on a tangent
yeah, my bad.
about the characters. But, there's a point later in the episode where they decide that the solution to defeat the candy is that they need to act like they're trick-or-treaters instead of acting like they're the organization UnderFist. And there's some really good costumes within that. Like, General Scar is Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Like, they just straight up made him Freddy Krueger, which is always... I love seeing horror movie... Like, I'm a huge horror movie buff. I love seeing horror movie references in kids cartoons. I always think it like hits well for me, where it's just like the really wholesome version of it. And they did it earlier too with General Scar, where the first time he comes out of his house, it's Ripley's scene from Aliens when she's in the power lifter, where it's one of the monsters steps on like his prize petunias, and then he's just like, "Get away from her, you
yeah
butt," or something, and they obviously like hold on it as they're like, "Wait, what can we have him say? Because we can't say the line from Aliens." But,
I didn't even catch that.
Oh yeah, that's totally what that was. That was
really
100% like shot for shot. The garage door opening is just like the power doors opening and like the dropship at the end of Alien. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny to
for
me.
Aliens. Yeah, really good bit. But Fred's costume is just a hot dog. And it looks he's so horribly squished into it, and they get such good expressions out of him the whole time because he looks so uncomfortable but so happy just to be in a costume.
Yeah.
And I love it. It plays so well.
I love how
they didn't even have to like make a joke out of it. They just could like have him standing in the background of the scene, and I was losing my shit laughing just because I couldn't like there was definitely a point where I was like I probably missed like 4 or 5 actual well-written jokes that they put into the script just because I was laughing like a moron because I was like, Fred's a hot dog.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Again, we were all watching it together. Like we were like us three were just watching it in like a Discord call, and like the amount that again I'm going back. I'm probably going to go back to watch this again because there's so much that I missed. Not only because of how smart the humor was, but because the jokes lined up one after another to the point where like Schnitzel's laughing. Johnny's laughing, I'm laughing. We like miss a full minute.
You definitely miss things because it's so rapid fire with
it's
them,
like,
and so layered where it's like a background joke or like a visual gag that you totally didn't even see the first time. That it's definitely worth your time to go back and watch it.
And even then, like having Fred Fredberger and Fred Fredberger like in this costume, like there's no better adjective to describe it than just like squished. Because he, like, his whole, like, everything is just squished together, and it doesn't even... It's just so funny to me how, like, thoroughly happy he is with it, with how squished he is.
Yeah, like, you can see, like, his face is kind of, like, pushing out of it a little bit, because he's just got, like, a big, tubby, round body.
Yeah, and his, like, cheeks are flapping out of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my gosh.
I do not think we have given enough credit to Hasta el Gato as a character.
Have we even brought him up?
Well, we've mentioned him.
Yeah, he needs to have his own section.
Made us lose, like, you and I specifically were gone
yeah.
immediately when he like kicks down the door of the trailer and he's like, a vampire, and it's Irwin standing there in his vampire Halloween costume, and Irwin's like, oh no, yo, like, don't kill me. And doesn't he say something like, hold still while I drive this stake into your heart? And then Irwin's like, no, I'm just pretend I'm an imaginary vampire.
And he's like, hold still so I put this imaginary stake in your heart.
Yeah. Such a good... And, like, anytime he shows up in the show, he is perfect at this, but it's such a good, cheesy, like, 80s, 90s action hero.
But it's literally, it's like action hero meets just pathetic loser is his whole character.
Yeah, it's so... And they play it so well. where at no point do they make him too pathetic where it loses some of the like really good action bits.
And
because he very much is like a Snake Plissken, like any Arnold Schwarzenegger character.
yeah, and there's definitely also there's no point where he like realizes how pathetic he is, you know? And that makes for
they keep such a good balance with him that whenever they're making the jokes for either side, it works. When the joke is he's being an over-the-top action hero and he's got, you know, his hand just turned into a giant gun that's shooting, like it turns into a chain gun or whatever, you're never like, oh, that's like kind of lame because he's a loser. You're still laughing at that because it's ridiculous. But
yeah.
You can still laugh whenever they have a point where he'll be like, I swear on my mother's grave. And then you hear his mom from behind being like, are you pretending that I'm dead again? Which they redo. They do that joke like 3 times in this movie, and every time it gets me.
Every time it's lands,
like
yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like, it's such a cheesy action movie line where he's like, I swear on my dead mother because I'm that serious about it. And like, you can, as you're watching it, you're like, yeah, that's exactly what some weird cheesy action movie would say when they're trying to show that this character's like super badass. But every time when you just hear the like raspy voice of the mother from behind, it gets me.
Rada, 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 rada.
I don't even think that was the conversation we were just on.
No, yeah, whatever. Other thing I loved as a bit was the reintroduction of Billy and Mandy. Felt so
Oh my gosh.
natural, but also in such a Billy and Mandy way.
Yeah, it almost like whenever that happened, I was like, oh, this is their show. I forgot. You know?
Yeah, totally. Like they do such a good job of making you care about these other characters and like even kind of the villains. Like we haven't even mentioned them, but like Bun Bun, the marshmallow Easter bunny that's the main villain of this, and like I forget her name, but the girl
Mindy.
Mindy, thank you. The witch. Like they're super fun characters to watch them, and then as you realize that they've captured the president, and after they have that whole scene where it's just straight up the Return of the Jedi Sarlacc pit, but it's like Irwin and a bunch of like candy, like the candy skeletons that don't really taste like anything, but you get them every Halloween, and like just seeing that you're like, oh my god, I know exactly what that candy is, but it's not like the stereotypical whenever you think candy in a cartoon where it's like some sort of ball-shaped candy wrapped with the little like bows on the side. And
so what was the villain bunny's name again?
was it not just Bun Bun?
Well, it might have been. I just completely forgot what you just said.
Yeah, it totally was. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say that wasn't in any other like show or anything to do with Billy and Mandy before, was it?
I don't think so. I think it literally was just they made him a Easter bunny candy.
I think
so that they could make the joke at one point, what the hell is an Easter bunny even doing in a Halloween special? And he's just like, shut up, and then moves on. Like
I just think that they do Billy and Mandy, where it shines is its characters and it's character development, honestly. And I think like if you've never seen the show before, watch this and you'll still enjoy the heck out of it. But it does do it a lot more justice to like have these characters that you really just know the inside and out of. Mm-hmm. Like anybody that's watched the entire series of Billy and Mandy could probably write at least okay Wikipedia page on each of the main like 20 characters. You know what I mean?
Like it reminds me of like Looney Tunes characters.
They're just like, so iconic.
You get the bit, and each of them kind of have their own like thing.
But they're not just shallow either. Like
exactly, that's what I mean. It's that one bit doesn't make the character not fun and make it so you can't ever like enjoy them beyond like once you've seen the bit 2 times, it's done.
Yeah.
Like you can see Fred Fredberger in like 8 different Billy and Mandy episodes, and it's still funny. You can see Irwin all the time, and it's still funny, and still every single time when he ends a line with "yo," I'm gonna laugh. But like,
and just to like confirm that, we laughed every time he said "yo."
Every
I think
single time.
almost every time. I think right. Like the only time was I was gonna say the only time we didn't was like when somebody was talking over it. Schnitzel for some reason was nonstop chatty Cathy over here. No, I'm just messing around. But I feel like I was where was I taking this? I was gonna say that these characters have been so good and have been in our lives like throughout the entire series, and I think they do such a good job at bringing in these other characters that we've never met before and make them just fit so perfectly in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this villain, I think they did a pretty good job with him. I wouldn't say he's my...
feels like a natural...
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's like my favorite villain in Billy and Mandy.
No, definitely not.
But I think they got... I just think he gelled well.
Yeah, it all fits. Any of the new things they introduced work so well with the characters that you already know and have been established and you've had time with since... I don't offhand know exactly when Billy and Mandy premiered, but like 2008's... They said he started production after he had finished production on Billy and Mandy. Like, you've had enough time to really sit with all of the characters.
It started in 2000.
It was 2000. Okay, yeah, so you've had 8 years with these characters if you're watching it, like, from the start. So there's a lot of time to live with these characters before getting into any of the new stuff, and all the new stuff still gels with it. But, sorry to kind of... This has been a really tangential episode just because we love this so much and we're having so much fun with it. But, back on that whole thing with... how they reintroduced Billy, Mandy, and Grimm. There's so many good jokes they make out of Mandy being president, where it is like they have whenever it cuts back to their version of the White House, instead of it just being them in the White House, it's just like the pillars and like the like semi-dome from the top of the White House awkwardly dropped on top of Billy's house. And like Billy's dad is the one White House guard standing outside in front of the White House. And they have like 3 different shots of it. And every single time they showed that shot, I just like turned to Carl and I was like, I gotta find that cell.
Yeah.
Like there's gotta be someone out there who has that cell.
That's the thing is like, not to run off into a different direction. Oh my gosh. It's so iconic and it's so gorgeous in what Billy and Mandy is as like an animation. And I just love it so much. It had me thinking, dude, like, could you imagine a world where we had like a Simpsons hit and run style game for Billy and Mandy? Like,
I would die.
If anything, what UnderFist does is it really shines light on all of the supporting
the world is.
And like how strong their world they built for this past 8 years was, how great, all of the side characters are, how cool and like expansive this town. What was the name of the town again? It doesn't really matter. But I'm just saying like Endsville, that's right.
Yeah.
I think it just it's such a missed opportunity. I think it would have been such a cool idea.
A little like kind of behind the scenes thing of this, because I usually do the art before I find out. Like I do a base thing of the art for like the thumbnail of the episode, that if you're watching this on YouTube, you see the thumbnail. If you're watching it anywhere else, it's like check our Twitter or give us another YouTube view. I don't know.
Yeah, or just keep watching us on YouTube over and over.
Yeah, sure. Do that. Send it to Fred from YouTube also.
Yeah.
But I usually do like a base sketch of, because I draw all of us in the style. The Billy and Mandy one has maybe been the easiest for me yet, just because that style feels so natural to me. And I think it's just because growing up, like I was born in 2000, and as I was growing up in that era, I think that influenced my art style and just caught my eyes so much that anytime it was on, I was so immediately infatuated with all of the expressions in the show and the way that they design the characters. Like just from a base structural level, they're all so strong and iconic, and their silhouettes look so good, to the point where like Billy, you don't even need to have much more than like the hat and the nose. You can put that hat and nose on anything and it's immediately recognizable as Billy from Billy and Mandy, even in a silhouette. Like it's just such strong, or like Mandy's little like hair, like whatever, I don't know what to call it. I guess her hairstyle. Like all of the way the characters look from a ground up level, just from a design standpoint, is so strong and looks so good.
And iconic, yeah.
Yeah.
Rada.
No, yeah, I know Schnitzel. Chowder was obviously a huge influence for me as well. I love that show. It's very near and dear to my heart. But yeah, it's just, all of it is so gorgeous and has such a gross but intoxicating style. Like you're so invested in everything that's going on and all of the... Like there was a point during one of the musical sequences where a bunch of the candy like evolves into like second forms of the candy, where it forms into like bigger kind of like mech robot versions of it. And all of the designs look so good, and there's so many little, even the sight gags, it's not just like a funny gag, it's like a good different design of it. Like there was the oh, I'm losing the name of it now. In the thumbnail, I'm holding it because at the time I was like, this is such a good bit. I love it. Their version of the Necronomicon,
I'm not gonna remember it. It was basically just like a candy Necronomicon.
Yeah, it was a candy Necronomicon, so it's based off the design like from the Evil Dead movies, and it's just such a it's on screen for all of like 12 frames, if even. But it was just like, that was an image that was so strong, it just like immediately burned into my head, where I was like, that's such a good version of the joke, where that's like something I try to capture in my art, where you get that version of the joke, but it's like, not just is it funny because of the joke that's being told, but it also like has that funny and appealing look to it. And Billy and Mandy does that better than so many shows, and it's such a strong style to it, and it works so well for the universe that they created.
I wanted to direct this question to our boy Schnitzel over here. You know, Chowder, definitely like a second, it felt like a continuation of the same Cartoon Network era. I think it started, let me check. Yeah, it started in 2007. So that's kind of like just a little bit, you know, it's not after Billy and Mandy, but it kind of like
crossover with.
Exactly, but it's like it's like taking the torch from Billy and Mandy, it kind of feels like. Was there any time that you were like maybe on their set, or maybe like you felt like, what did you feel about their art style, and like how maybe Chowder might have taken from that art style, not in like a plagiarism way, but in like an
influence.
Yeah, like an influence. What do you is there anything like crossover that you could see?
Rada.
That wasn't, yeah, that had nothing to do with what I just asked you, though, is the only problem with that. I feel like, I wasn't saying that they were biting off of anybody's flow. I wasn't, like, what, like, do you see any crossover, like, in art direction, art style between, like, the two shows? Like, you can't argue, like, they were both on...
That, like, the creator of Chowder is Fred Fredberger. Like, it's hard to deny that there's a lot of crossover between the styles and the influences, and a lot of people working together on these. No, dude, I know, I'm listening, I can hear you, I get it, but it's just like, there's so much, you're working together. It's not a plagiarism thing. Artists work together. It's like a cooperative effort. That's the whole art sphere that I'm hearing your argument.
Yeah. You know, it's ironic to bring up cooperation like you just did, Johnny. This is... Yeah. It's a little overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Do you want to, like, spin this? I don't know. I don't know how to get us out of that. That was kind of like a hole, almost. It felt like... maybe...
I don't know. Where do we even go?
I don't know. Don't meet your heroes, you know? But...
Okay. Well, in my defense, I want to say that I still want to meet Irwin. That's my one takeaway from this. I would love to meet Irwin. I think he's...
he seems like a class act type of...
Well, yeah, obviously. But on top of that, he is so perfect in this movie. Irwin is consistently hilarious.
He really is.
Being like, he does have like a fun, genuine arc to it too, on top of just being like good for jokes. Because he is, in the show, a lot of the time, used as a punching bag. And he's used as a punching bag really well. Like, he does that job. But he also does have such a genuine likability to him, which is why I think a lot of people do find themselves loving Irwin. Like, we here at Cartoon Overload love Irwin a lot. And we think that this movie really lets him shine in a way that I'm so glad the creators let him, because it's clear from when he's showing up in Billy and Mandy that they have so much fun with his character and what they wrote for him to do, that it would have been a crime for us to not get this movie. Like, this movie had to happen. It's like
it felt like a perfect send-off.
Exactly. Which, this is a movie that if it didn't happen then, that in 2018 we'd have those, like, you know, like the big Kickstarter campaigns where it's people being like, bring back the Irwin movie. Like, we heard you were talking about it. We want it. We love Irwin so much. And I still wouldn't be against that now. Like, they said they were thinking about sequels. I personally, I'm going to say it right now. We should start a campaign. There should be more UnderFist movies. There should be more UnderFist content, a spin-off series, even a web series, anything. Like the Kids Next Door thing is like, that's like blown up. Like, people listen if there's a big enough audience, and I think we could be the first people to really like catapult this forward into a new era of Irwin.
I think people don't remember how smart Billy and Mandy is. Whenever you like look at Billy and Mandy and you haven't watched her in a while, I think a lot of people forget. Like, it just kind of feels like fart jokes or something like that.
Yeah, they think about the gross out humor, which it does do, and it does it like effectively. Like, it is gross.
Yeah. But can I make a little bit of a hot take?
Mm-hmm.
I think Irwin might be like, I'm just gonna say it, I think he might be the best cartoon character to
I'll
be.
stand by that. Dude, Irwin might be the best character in fiction, never mind just cartoons. Like, we can add literature, we can add movies, we can add music where it's like storytelling. Irwin just like, he's so immediately lovable that I don't know how anyone could not have him at the top, or if at least if he's not at your top, like in your top. Like, there is, if you have a top 10 list of cartoon, like animated characters or characters in general, if Irwin isn't in your top 10, I've just like lost a lot of respect for you. I don't know how
That's
you can
so
make that
valid.
list without putting Irwin in it.
Or at least, if not Irwin, like, at least somebody from Billy and Mandy.
Yeah. Yeah, representation to, like, Irwin adjacent characters, people who live in his universe, because as much as he ties the universe together, his whole universe that he exists in is so just, I love it, and I can't get enough of it, and I think about it so much, you know? And it's like, not a lot of cartoons do that.
I don't think there is another cartoon that does that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll stand by that. Like, there are shows that, like, sure, you think about it, and you're like, yeah, I just, like, in my spare time will, like, you know, I'll be sitting throughout the day, and I'll be like, man, I love Gravity Falls. I'm going to think about this Gravity Falls thing that's happening, or whatever. Like, I'll reference jokes to it and whatnot. But nothing sticks. Like, the entire, just the word yo, used in any context, immediately reminds me of Irwin. Seeing any, like, nerdy character, like, dude, you can look back at, like, even Urkel, and I'm like, this is just, like, pre-Irwin.
It feels like it's copying Irwin still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
They, like, went for,
you see what they were going for, but then, like, Irwin takes that formula and just does it perfectly. It's like whenever Blizzard comes out with a game, you know? How it's like, people can be like, you know, Overwatch is just Team Fortress 2. And it's like, yeah, it's that, but better. That's what Irwin is for, like, writing. Like, it's just, like, the people who wrote Irwin, they did writing. They just did it better than anyone else has done it. And I can't believe that we get to live in the timeline where he also exists, you know?
Rada, 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 rada. Rada, 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 rada. Rada.
Dude, come on.
That's
Schnitzel.
That's so uncalled for. That's, like, we literally just went on and on for literally about,
Rada.
I'd say 4 minutes and some change on why he's our favorite character. And I feel like, especially when you bring in, like, that kind of reasoning to it, is such a, it's like a disgrace to me. Like, especially of a,
we created this show to spread positivity.
Yeah.
I think you're doing such a... I'm going to say, you're doing a terrible job at it, dude. Like, we brought you on thinking you would want to be here and you want to, like...
And especially as a C of C, as a C of C, a cartoon of color yourself, it's just, like, it's so wild to me how, like, how you feel comfortable with that, to be honest. Like, I don't even... Can we?
Rada.
I'm just going to call it, dude.
Yeah, I think so. Like, that's...
We'll cut in, like, the last bit of this later with just us, but, like, Schnitzel, we're done. We can't keep doing this shit.
Yeah, that's...
No, I know. I get that you're upset. I get it. You can stop yelling. We're done.
Yeah, that's it.
You'd be lucky if we even put this shit up, dude.
Yeah, I don't even... We gotta find, like, another... This is... Whew, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I almost even want people to see this so that they can see your true colors. You know, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, Schnitzel, that you haven't been on another cartoon since Chowder. Okay? And I'm also not surprised that you weren't in that parade with Chowder himself in this UnderFist special, dude. I think it's wow, that's shocking. You keep making claims, and this has been all episode. That's wild.
Rada.
Yeah, I think that's enough to wrap it up. I think your 2 cents right there is absolutely it.
I guess we'll just... sorry, guys. Schnitzel had, like, a previous engagement, so he had to go. But Karl and I will still wrap up the episode.
Yeah.
You know, like normal. We'll hold down the fort as we do, you know?
Yep. Yeah, you know, it's been, sorry about that. It's been wonky with Audacity issues. I think, like, and now, you know, Schnitzel had like a flight to catch or something.
Yeah.
You know,
big Hollywood man lifestyle. We
Yeah.
know that, right? Common YouTubers.
So I guess that about wraps it up, right?
Yeah,
Is there
we'll
any?
do, well, I guess we can do the. Do we recommend that people watch? I mean, obviously, we recommend that people watch this, but
Yeah.
what's your like lead into this
Here,
show?
I have a
recommend for
question.
someone watching it? Mhm.
As because obviously we recommend it. Do you think people can watch this without watching Billy and Mandy?
Yeah, I think they could. Like I wouldn't. If I were to just like this Halloween be like getting together with some friends, and I was like, we just kind of want to casually watch something, but casually watch something that's still going to be like really fun. Like if I'm not in the mood for sitting down for 2 hours and watching like a good brooding horror movie, but I kind of want something fun, but it still really has that Halloween spirit in it.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of like really enjoyable moments. I think that this doesn't alienate people by making it too, you gotta know Billy and Mandy. You got,
I think
like the introductions still work.
Yeah, I think it does
on
do
their
it
own
does
on top of you getting the characters beforehand.
100%. I think it does do a good job at establishing the
reintroducing.
universe like
Yeah.
for you, just as like you will definitely get more out of it if you've watched Billy and Mandy. But if like you're trying to show, maybe you have like a friend that's
Even if
never
they haven't
watched
seen it in years, I think it does a really good job of like readjust. Like I just because that's like a thing I do. I had like watched Billy and Mandy relatively recently to when we
'Cause we're
watched the
nerds.
movie. But yeah, yeah, exactly. But I definitely have friends who haven't watched Billy and Mandy since like it was on air, and I'm sure that if I showed them this, just because of the way that they introduce characters, probably within those first like the first couple lines that each character has, they'd, even if they don't remember the character, remember what the character's about. Like if they don't remember a specific, I remember what happened in this Hasta el Gato episode, they'll remember like, oh yeah, he's the action movie guy.
And you don't
Like,
even,
they'll pick
that's
up
the best
on
part
those.
is like it's so self-explanatory. Like you might not know where Jeff the Spider comes from, but you will 100% by the end of this understand who Jeff the Spider is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You won't understand the origins of Fred Fredburger. Not many of us do, but you
But
know,
that's part of the fun.
exactly. It's almost it. I would love to see. Like, I wish I could go and like erase my knowledge of Billy Mandy and watch this blind to see how well it would hold up.
Yeah, right?
But as somebody that loves Billy Mandy, probably top 5 cartoons of all time, even maybe for me, like it's not out of that
Oh,
realm.
yeah, that's valid.
Um, I'd say this isn't a bad introduction.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird that it's not, because it's the finale to the series.
Yeah,
like,
technically the finale to the series.
but I think it's a good spot if you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, super fun. Definitely worth your time. And like we kind of mentioned, especially if you're just looking for something that really just dunks you in that like, it's October of 2007 and I'm getting home from school watching cartoons, and all of the Cartoon Network bumpers are like the Halloween versions of the bumpers, and you just get that like beautiful feeling of nostalgia just for Halloween. It sets that so excellently.
I think that's about it, though, right? Like, I feel like, yeah. So basically, watch this, you nerd. You have the time. Don't pretend like you don't. You know what I mean? You have 60 minutes to spill
Yeah.
into this. If you want to, like, we start plugs. I know Schnitzel already went on his, stupid flight or whatever, but
I don't even think he's like on, so he's like,
yeah. Check
It
out.
was like
I just rewatched
yeah.
Chowder or something.
Chowder's definitely worth it to watch. It's such a good show, and all
Yeah.
the minds that are really behind Chowder and really did all the heavy lifting did such a good job. And
It was
despite-
obviously the writing.
yeah, for sure, the writing, and like 90% of that cast fantastic and do
I'd
such
say-
a great job.
Yeah, the good majority of the cast, to be honest.
That's one of the ones that, like, since we launched this, like, little behind the scenes thing, since we launched this podcast, Chowder was one of the ones that I was like, I can't wait to do a Chowder episode, because I like have such a deep-seated love for the creator of that show, and like all
Yeah,
of
and
the
that's why
things that they
I feel like
managed
it was
to
going to
do.
be so surreal. Like, we've been lining up this
Yeah.
episode. So, yeah, check out Chowder if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you could follow me at Karl Jacobs _. It's Karl with a K. Again, no name with the letter C is worth mentioning. You could follow Johnny at Johnny Hayes. It's Johnny with 2 H's and 1 N. And
HHNYHAZE.
That's it. And you could follow our show on Twitter at Toon Overload. That's TOONOVERLOAD. Or Toon Overload Show on Instagram. If you want to email us anything, maybe just pictures of Irwin, you can do that at cartoonoverloadshow@gmail.com.
Also, if you are someone who might be interested in being on the show, hit us up with some of the stuff that you've done to, like, kind of get us, if we don't already know who you are, to get us an idea of who you are, and who knows, maybe we'll sit down and talk some cartoons with you.
Yeah, we keep having...
Or if you recommend someone else. Also.
We keep having this one... It feels like a spam email. I can't tell. It's like this underground rapper, Drake or something, keeps hitting us up.
Yeah.
If you're listening, stop. We're not going to have you on, okay? Like, I don't know who you are. I don't like your music, you know. It's a no, okay?
Sorry, man.
I'm not sorry. But anyway.
I'm just saying I feel like I'm obligated to say sorry because, like, I looked into, like, his whole thing, and apparently, like, being from Toronto is part of it, and I'm, like, Toronto adjacent, so I feel like he kind of had a little bit of a, like, you owe me something.
So it's like a Canadian sorry.
Canadian, yeah, exactly. It's like, I apologize for the fact that I have to be associated with you, you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it.
That about wraps it up.
It's been Cartoon Overload. We don't have an outro, so I'll hit you with let me try to... I've been practicing this language. Rada rada.